Welcome to DeadManTalking. Tonight's show is the third installment from the fantastic series by my good friend Smokey Beardman. As ever, please do let us know down below in the comments what you thought. Please do like and share and help build this channel and our community further. Help us smash our way through the 30,000 subscriber mark. As ever, if you yourself have a story you'd like to feature on the show, whether it's true or fictional, you can do so by getting that over to me at the website, which is www.DMTForestofFear.com. Now, without further ado, let's get into tonight's story, entitled The Naturals, the Hacker. Let's get straight into that. Damn it! That's another day down the drain. I walked away from the computer with as much indignation as I could muster. Once again, my attempts to make my nano machines viable to use for others had failed. I may be the best computer wizard alive currently, but this is the one thing that frustrates me and makes me wonder what I'm doing with my life. I have access to the best tech, best resources, and almost unlimited funding, yet these nanos are almost beyond me. I spent years making and programming them. The fact that they work is just a fluke. They can regenerate and repair any part of my body, as was my intention. But I don't know how I got them to work. All of my attempts to recreate the process so they would work for others has proved fruitless. But tomorrow is another day. I went down to the day room where my brother, Jake, and our newest recruit, Ty, were sharing war stories and comparing scars. I don't bother with their pissing contests. Instead, I made my way over to Tak, who was considering moves at the chessboard. Our games were very interesting. I've come close to beating him a number of times, but he always seems to pull a quick one and take me out. His aptitude for strategy really is impressive sometimes. Ready to pick this back up? He couldn't help but test his skills against me. No one else was even a challenge for him. Sure, it's been a rough day and I could use the distraction. Another failure with the nanos? No. You could say that. I thought I was so close. Everything seemed to fall into place, but then, poof, self-destruct. Well, you can't make an omelette without breaking a couple of eggs. Yes, a couple. But 2,563 eggs is a bit much. Fair enough. Your move. We played for a couple of hours, one game ending and another taking its place. The meatheads had moved from their barbaric competition and were now watching some sitcom they had taken a mutual interest in. Soon, it was time to turn in and call it a day. It was about half hour before morning wake-up when Jake barged into my room with a smile. Wakey wakey, hands off Snakey, lil bro. We got a job. Copter will be off in 60. Grab your gear. Man has a way with words. Still groggy, I got up and got my things, slid my workwear on and made my way to the elevator. Tak, Jake and Ty were already there and ready. Everyone looked wide awake and ready, and luckily I would have plenty of time to get a cup of strong black coffee down my throat before liftoff. We met Agent Costus in the briefing room, grabbed my coffee and settled in for the mission details. Gentlemen, you're not going to believe this. At this, Tak had to put his 2 cents in. You're kidding, right? After all we've seen since we started working here, this is going to be the thing we don't believe. Very funny, Mr. Tackett. Listen, and then decide for yourself if you still feel that statement holds water. We have reason to believe that we have found a lost city. To be specific, the Lost City of Atlantis. Agent Costus paused for effect. We all dropped our jaws. You're right. I don't believe it, but I guess that anything is possible at this point. What's the mission? Well, we will be securing the sites and gathering intel. We're not sure what to expect when we get there. It is underwater, and as far as we know, uninhabited. We wish to take a claim before any other government finds it and has the same idea. Hacker, you will be on tech and setting up the comms. Gunslinger and Street Fighter, you will be security escort. Tak, you will be at the base once it is established, and feeding orders from there. You will have full mission command. If the situation seems to be too dangerous, pull the plug. Understood? Tak took a second to mull this over. This was the first time he was fully in control of a mission, and finally, he looked up. "Sure, I got this. I have a few requests, though, regarding equipment. 360 body cams, vital monitors, and so on." "That shouldn't be a problem. Make a list and I'll have the grunts get them around and ready. Any questions?" He looked around the room. I decided to ask a question that was bothering me. "Are we working in water or is there air?" "The site is underwater, in a cave. From what we can tell, it's dry and plenty of air. And there seems to be light of some source, though we're not sure what is causing it. But I would say yes, it's dry and no diving equipment will be needed, though it will be brought in just in case. You will not be longer than 10 hours a day, and will take 12 hours away each day. If that's everything, then we leave in 15 minutes. Dismissed." We made our way to the surface, and soon was met by TAC after he made his equipment requests. Soon we were off and on our way. We had to stop and change transportation a couple of times. Around midday, we were flying over the Atlantic, and our view wouldn't change for a while. My brother and Ty were amusing themselves by trying to see who knew more about survival and different forms of brutish violence. I'm glad to have them with me in the field, but other than that, I have no use for their company. This is fine considering that they get on with each other, and I got TAC to talk to. Not that I don't like the two gorillas, they are my friends, but I don't enjoy what they do. They have their high points sometimes. Ty gets me laughing sometimes to the point I feel like my side is splitting, and Jake is always there for me when I'm in a funk. It was late evening when we reached the ship that was to be home for the time being. I hate ships, not seasickness, just don't like the swaying. It messes with my balance and sets the nanos into overdrive. This drives up my blood pressure for a few hours until they realise that I'm not under attack. We made our way onto the ship and was greeted by the captain and shown where our quarter were. We were shown the sub that was to be our transport, told how long the trip to and from would be, and so on. We would be embarking on this journey down to the Lost City in the morning, and with that, we went to bed. Morning came, and the coffee was terrible, and the food wasn't much better. Thank God I had a full supply of cakes. The nanos require me to eat lots of calories to function. They get power from the calories and are able to create more of themselves with my bodily intake. Thanks to this, I eat almost constantly and look good. In fact, I'm kind of ripped for a nerd. At about 8 AM, we were on our way down. It was to be 45 minutes of a trip. We were all quiet with anticipation, enjoying the sights of the ocean around us. I wasn't sure where we were, but it was fairly far from shore. I felt the pressure of the water pushing in on the sub around me, and this sent the nanos into overdrive again, but they settled down soon enough. And then, without warning, we were there. We could barely see the sunlight above us through the water. We were really deep. I looked at the cave entrance and was immediately shocked. I was looking at what looked like a perfect circle. Anyone who had taken an art course in high school would have most likely heard this before, but perfect circles are impossible. But what I was looking at was just that, perfect. And probably not. I would have to investigate this later. I mean, come on. A perfect circle in an underwater rock face? Not likely. We made our way inside the cave, which was dark almost as soon as we passed the mouth. On came the lights at a flick of a button. The man piloting our sub had a good sense of what he was doing. Thank God. It was about 5 minutes till the cave slightly ascended. It was another 5 minutes when we saw a light and the water ended. We breached the water surface and was met with what I could only describe as awe-inspiring. There was indeed light coming from some source we couldn't see. Everything was bathed in a soft blue and a dark blue hues and tints. The surface of the water made beautiful light shows on the surrounding surfaces. There were ivory pillars, marble floors, the smoothest cuts of stone from the ceiling. This room was absolutely huge, at least 50 feet wide and 75 feet long, and this was only the antechamber. We piled out of the sub, each taking gear in different boxes and cases, and soon the sub was unloaded and we set to getting everything ready. The sub pilot called out to us telling us that he was taking off and that the next sub, with the rest of the equipment and supplies, would be here in a few minutes. I grabbed a couple of Twinkies and decided to get the computers and surveillance equipment set up. Before too long, the next sub showed up and was also unloaded. This sub-pilot got out and helped with the setup. Within hours, we were all prepped and ready. Jake spent a good part of time getting his guns loaded and sorted. Ty did the same and did some stretches and some other athletic stuff I don't fully understand. And Tack was busy going over the equipment he requested and making sure everything was in working order and going over his strategy for exploration. I was left alone with my computers, my beautiful toys. I personally built every one of them. Once hooked up, they were more powerful than any modern-day supercomputer. I'm so proud of my babies. It was getting past midday by the time we were all ready to continue with this mission. Tack told us that today we would only spend a few hours getting the first part of the layout mapped. Sonic mapping is a very useful tool. And Tack told us that I was to go with my brother and explore the next room. Ty would stay behind and act as Tack's personal guard. He said he didn't want to take any chances of attack on either end. The bright side was that Jake was to follow my orders to the letter. No arguments. Inside, I was squirming with the joy that I was in charge this time. We were both fitted with a 360-degree body cam and vitals monitor. We were also given a panic button and a sonic mapping device. Jake was told not to fire his gun unless absolutely necessary, in case it causes a cave-in. After the mothering, we set off into the unknown. A place that was untouched for a millennia. We were pioneers in a sense. My excitement was through the roof, and Jake was equally pleased with this situation. The next room was smaller, but still very ornate. Marble and ivory and cut stone were the main resource for the building. Gold was very tastefully used in pictures and designs. Silver accompanied the gold as a contrast. This room told a story that I couldn't comprehend. Jake was in awe of the sight, slowly turning around and taking it all in. Pictures of men, women, animals, mythical creatures were adorned on the walls like some art gallery. We flashed the sonic mapping and moved to the next room. This was more than we expected. The next room opened up to a cavern. Massive doesn't do it justice. I can't even think of a word to describe the size of what we were seeing. The expanse showed us the entire city. We had walked out onto a stairway that led to the city streets. And what we saw was a circular tavern. The city itself was also circular with streets and waterways and alleys. Buildings tall and impressive were everywhere. Oddly, nothing was destroyed. Not a single build was toppled. Not a single house was collapsed. We could see where the marketplace was, and I could only guess. Government building. Flags and banners were still in place. Not a single rip or tear could be seen. Panes of glass in windows looked like they were just put in yesterday. I couldn't help but notice that there wasn't a single speck of dust anywhere that I could notice. I ran my finger along the railing, and still no dust, no dirt, no nothing. I flashed the sonic mapping and looked for the light source that made everything glow. I looked up. I looked to the sides. I looked down. There was absolutely no sign of any light source. It was like the whole place was just lit with no rhyme or reason for it. Jake took this moment to startle me with his curiosity. What is making the light? Why does everything look so pristine? He put word to every thought that was running through my own mind. I honestly don't know. I don't know what could light this whole place up like this. And to your inquiry, I still don't know. A cataclysm that could sink a city this size should have destroyed it. Well, everything. Come on, let's explore a little further. Radio back to Tack and inform him what we found. He followed my command and followed me down the stairs. Tack told us to be careful and yada yada yada. At the bottom of the stairs we were greeted by more decor that was equally beautiful, along with some houses with flower boxes that appeared to have been carefully tended to recently. Everything looked like it was inhabited just the day before. It was uncanny. To be quite honest, it was starting to get spooky. Why was everything so taken care of in an abandoned city, buried under the waves? Also, why were there no bodies, no animals or human anywhere? Not a single bone in sight. What the hell? Jake looked like he hadn't noticed the lack of skeletons, and instead, he looked like he was listening to something that I couldn't hear. What is... Shh! Jake never shushes me, unless it was important, so I took heed. He stood and swiveled his head around for what seemed like hours, even if it was only a minute. Finally, he loosened up and said, "Oh, it must have been my imagination." "What was that all about?" "I don't know. It was like we were being watched or something. You know that feeling you get when someone is staring at you?" I shook my head in answer. "Well, that's what I felt. Like eyes were burning into me, but I can't see or hear anything moving." It was at this that I noticed the same thing. Yes, I couldn't hear anybody or anything moving, but I also couldn't hear anything at all. You could hear a pin drop, no noise whatsoever, no water noise, no wind, no roar of the water outside the cave, just nothing. I flashed the sonic mapping from this new location, and we made our way further along the street, flashing as we went. Some windows were stained glass, some windows were in shapes of animals or arches. Here and there was gold, silver, opal, platinum, rubies, sapphires, emeralds, and so many other riches. It was almost gross with the amount of opulence everywhere. As we walked, Jake would stop every now and then and look around like he expected an attack. He was never the paranoid type, and he was making me nervous, but I couldn't bring myself to stop him because I trusted his instincts. To be honest, I too was feeling like eyes were following at every move. I tried to brush it off until Jake grabbed my shoulder and a whisper said, "Stop, don't move." I obeyed, only moving my head to look where he had focused his gaze. I saw nothing but the buildings and shadows. Nothing moved and still, absolute silence. "We should head back. Flash and let's go. We need to debrief TAC and make plans for tomorrow." Something was off with how he was acting. He doesn't play carefully. He isn't paranoid. Something was spooking him, and in turn, spooking me. Yeah, maybe you're right. Let's go. I flashed the sonic mapping and took the lead back to the staircase, and we made our way back up and out. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw something move, but when I turned to look, I saw nothing. When we got back to the base, we debriefed TAC and told him all we'd found in as much detail as we could put into words. We even told him about the strange feelings we had of being watched. I didn't, however, mention possibly seeing something moving. He made a few notes, checked a few charts and a map read out from the sonic mapping. "Okay, good work today. This is a great start. I'll look over what we have and have a new strategy in the morning." We packed up what we wanted to take with us and left the rest so that we could only need one sub the next day. The whole way up, I was quiet. Jake and Ty talked about what the place was like, and TAC looked over the papers and charts, invested in the next steps. I was fine with this. I had my own thoughts to process. The next few days were pretty much the same. We were told not to search the houses or buildings until we could get a decent map with a basic layout. This way, if need be, we could get back to base quickly and not waste any time. We walked around the outer ring, over ornate bridges and under just as ornate underpasses. The water in the waterways was as clear as glass to where we could see the bottom. There were 10 separate rings. Some were waterways, some were footpaths, others were sky bridges that would span overhead to different rings in different places. After a whole week, we had mapped out all of the main roads and waterways. We also mapped the major sky bridges. The whole time we would still get that feeling of being watched. A few times we would see something move in the shadows, but never heard anything. Well, with the sonic mapping, we pretty much mapped out the entire layout. From here, Street Fighter will be joining you. I'll have a couple of guys come with us to stand guard here at the base with me. You three will start searching the houses and buildings and flashing each one. Keep an eye out for anything interesting and make notes. No souvenir collecting yet. This stage is to search and catalogue. Am I understood, Gunslinger? Jake just nodded and looked, lost in thought. Ty looked excited and was eager to get started. Too bad he had to wait till the next day. When we got on the ship, I was looking over the diagnostic readouts like a pawn. I love diagnostics. Don't judge me. There was a knock on my cabin door, and before I could answer it, Jake stepped in and closed the door. "Oh, please come in, brother. Make yourself at home," I said with as much contempt as I could. This was my me time. "Are you nervous about the houses?" At this I lost my frustration Apparently, I wasn't the only one who had the misgivings about the prospect of searching the houses. Huh, you too, huh? I don't know what it is, but there's something down there. Something is alive and stalking us down there. I can't hear it. I can't smell it. All I've been able to do is catch glances of it, and it's gone before I can actually process what I saw. And before you try and play it off as my imagination, I know you felt it and seen it as well. That first day you saw it too. Honestly, I don't know what I saw. It was probably my imagination running away with me because of how nervous you were. You were making me nervous as well. What about the fact that there was no dirt or dust? There was no bodies or skeletons. There was no fallen buildings. How there is a waterway but no ripples, no wind. Hell, there is no smell whatsoever. It's like there's nothing there other than the sight and touch. Most of our senses are cut off from that place. You're the smartest person I've ever had the pleasure to know. And you can't logically explain this, can you? You sure as hell can't deny all this. Fine. You win. No, I can't explain or deny any of it. You happy? No, I'm not. I was hoping I was wrong and I was just being paranoid. I was hoping you had some science bullcrap explanation for why this place gets under my skin so much. Or have you told Tack about any of this? No, I'm gonna. But I needed your side first. As a matter of fact, we should both tell him, in case one saw or felt something the other didn't. Agreed? Agreed. We went to Tack and told him what we were concerned about. He listened and was quiet for a minute. He closed his eyes and sighed. All right. If this was just one of you, I would write it off as nerves. We will follow the same plan for tomorrow. And before you argue, I don't want to tell Ty any of your suspicions. I want to get his perspective, unadulterated. He has a sense about things that's otherworldly. And so do you, Jake. The two of you together should be able to get a better sense of what we are dealing with. Again, if it seems to be too dangerous to get out of there. Deal? In unison, we both answered, deal. The next day came too soon. I barely slept. Jake looked in top form though, and Ty was brimming with excitement. He wanted to see the city of riches. We got on the sub and descended. We got to the cave and prepared to get started. Tack gave us some last-minute guidance and then we were off. As we entered the main cavern, Ty was immediately overwhelmed by the beauty and grandeur of the place. He was like a little kid at Disney World. I had never seen that side of him. It was, admittedly, amusing. When we got to the bottom of the stairs, his demeanour instantly changed. He turned around, catching us off guard, and yelled into nothing. "Who's there?" His voice echoed and reverberated. The look on his face was that of anger. His muscles tightened and yet were relaxed all at the same time. It made me think of a snake about to strike. After a minute of nothing happening, he visibly relaxed. Oh, it must have been my imagination. Jake and I looked at each other without a word, but we knew what we were thinking. The same thing. We were not alone. We had made our way through a few houses, finding very interesting things and sonic mapping as we went. It wasn't until we got about 2 blocks down the road when we stumbled onto the most interesting place. A diary of some sort. It was perfectly preserved like the rest of the place. The book opened and the pages were like brand new. The words were a mix of languages. I could read some of them, but others were lost on me. Some were what looked like ancient English. The next house, however, was an eye-opener. We walked into the next house and started looking around. I was examining some scrolls and books in one corner when Jake called out, "Hey, check out this painting. What a weird-looking creature." I didn't even bother turning around until I heard a sharp intake of air coming from Ty. "We have to get out of here now!" "What are you?" Ty cut Jake off. "Now!" And without another word, he made for the door, throwing it open as he went, and we were stunned. Jake grabbed the painting and we ran after him. We got all the way back to base before Ty finally stopped, panting. Tack was confused. "What the hell was that all about?" Jake answered first. "I don't know. He looked at this painting and freaked out. This is when I got my first look at the painting. It was a dark, bloody background. In the foreground was a tall, slender figure that was striped like a zebra, except instead of white stripes, they were red. There were no eyes and a mane like a horse's run down its back. Its arms were long and almost dragging onto the ground, and its teeth were sharp, as were the claws on both hands. Do you know what this is, Ty? No, except death. Remember me telling you about my first mission? We nodded, listening intently. That is the thing I killed. No doubt about it. That's it. Okay, let's calm down. This is just a painting of it. Doesn't mean it's here. Maybe someone was studying this thing. Tack doing his best to calm Ty and failing miserably. Besides, it's not like anything is down here. No reports of any living beings. You said there was carnage and other god-awful things everywhere. We haven't seen any things. Not even a hint of blood. Right, guys? Jake and I both shook our heads at this. Oh, there is something here. I know it. I felt it. It was at that moment that we heard from the very next room a wheezing laugh that sounded like sand being poured from a bag rhythmically. Ty stiffened up and got into his fighter's stance. Jake pulled his revolver and put his hand on a 9mm. Tack moved over to the table and grabbed a stun rod. I made myself as small and unnoticeable as possible. The sub-pilot put his hand on his service piece but kept looking at the sub. As all of this was happening, the thing in the next room made its way into the base. It was every bit of the painting, but this was real, and in front of us, a nightmare come to life. It looked at each of us in turn like it could see us clearly, and when it was fully in the room, it stopped laughing. Then it spoke in the same sand pouring from a bag voice it had laughed with.
These things have crept upon the grave of an arrogant. These have disturbed those who have been damaged for their transgressions.
It then quickly turned its head to Ty and smiled sickeningly.
This one has faced the Morkhorn before. It is alive. It must be a worthy one. What of these other things? Is there worth among them? To disturb these places is a challenge to the...
Ty interrupted with such rage that he now scared me more than the thing. Shut up! I've heard enough of your idiotic riddles. Are you the same one I killed?
No, champion. It is not the one it has killed.
Do you mean us any harm?
Yes!
In an instant, the thing launched itself at Jake, attempting to grab him. Jake, with the quickness, shot its hands and feet, causing it to stumble into the table holding the computer. Ty took the opportunity to leap upon the creature and tried to wrap his arm around its neck. But it was too quick and grabbed him and flung him across the room. Ty landed hard, but got up with a roll. While the creature was distracted, Jake shot him 2 more times, emptying his revolver and pulling his pistol. He began to unload the clip as the thing approached unfazed. Jake was out of bullets and pulled his shotgun from his back holster, and before he could pump it, it was snatched from his hands. Ty was back on the beast's back again, trying to secure it with that chokehold. The thing reeled back, thrown off balance. Jake started to reload as quick as he could, but I saw it happening. The claw pulling back to strike my brother, my beloved brother. Jake didn't see it. Ty had his hands full, and Tack was on the other side of the room and wouldn't make it in time. For the first time in my life, I couldn't think, except he's gonna die. My brother. The next thing I was aware of was a tingling in my stomach and a warm sensation spreading and moving down. I couldn't hear anything, not really. I looked down to see a claw pulling itself free from my chest. I felt a bit lightheaded, and then everything came back sharp and crisp. I heard Jake yelling from behind me. He was shouting no and my name, and then pain shot through me like a knife through butter, and my legs gave out. I lay on the ground and watched an emotion that I've never seen take over my brother's face before. Rage. Tears were welling in his eyes, and his face turned blood red. His face contorted. What happened next was, well, I don't even have words for it. My brother ripped the shotgun from the demon's hand and kicked it hard in its gut, sending it to the ground. Ty held on, keeping it tied up as best he could. He was bleeding from a cut over his eye and a gash on his arm. Jake marched up to the thing and after a pump to the shotgun, shoved the barrel down the filthy thing's throat. It then gagged and sputtered and squirmed harder against Ty. Ty looked pissed as well, and Jake yelled, "Now!" Like this was the plan all along. Ty jumped off the creature just as Jake unloaded down the freak's gullet. We all watched as the bottom dropped out, and with it was the worst smelling guts I have ever experienced. And this is where I passed out. I came to on the ship in the medbay. I looked down at the nearly healed hole in my chest, laughed a bit. I then sat up and was pushed back down by the caring hand of my brother. "Hey, take it easy, Poindexter. Your nanos might work miracles, but you've been out for a few days, and the doc can't keep up with the calorie intake, so you might pass out again. Here, I smuggled you some ho-hos." "You really do care. Oh, don't worry, I won't tell anyone." "Good, or else I might have to kill you myself." It was a good laugh with my brother again. "Thank you. You saved my life down there. I never give you enough credit for how brave you are. But still, thank you. I promise I'll never steal your cakes again." "You give me too much credit. I knew my nanos would save me in the end. So what about the mission?" "Costus is pulling the plug, at least for us. He will send more guns and troops down there to do a full sweep, and the first sign of another one of those things, well, let's say Atlantis won't be found again for many more millennia. In the meantime, we're on our way home. And before you ask, anything they pull out of there, you get first pick to examine." "It's crazy to send more people in there after us. But I guess we are a valuable commodity. Even you." "I love you too, bro." Wow. Awesome stuff, Smokey. Thank you so much, brother. Really have enjoyed this series so far, Smokey. Really would like to see it continue. Hopefully you can do that for us, brother. As ever though, guys and girls, please do let us know down below in the comments what you thought. Please do like and share, it really does help build the channel and our community further. And we are smashing our way towards the 30,000 subscriber mark. Of course, don't forget to give a smack on the notification bell, just to make sure you're keeping up to date with all notifications and posts from myself. And as ever, more from me tomorrow night, with hopefully another double bill show. And above all, remember, be safe, not sorry.